Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Also Joe podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm also Joe.
And today we are going to be talking about Justice League. All right, well, let's start at the beginning of the film. I do, every once in a while, I have a good comment
I have some
sprinkled
good
in.
ones. Yeah.
My first comment at the very beginning is a good one, which is that Danny Elfman, who composed the music for this one, he does a way better job composing superhero music than Hans Zimmer did for Batman v Superman, because the music sounds great, and it sounds like a Justice League movie is starting, and then it goes downhill from there. But
I don't know what you're talking about because Batman vs Superman had the best music ever.
Oh yeah,
and I wish I could play it over this right now so you could hear it, but
I forgot. Okay, so the first scene.
I just had a comment before the first scene. Did you notice what studio produced this movie?
No.
And maybe you want to go back and watch it again if you still have it. But the movie is literally produced by Cruel and Unusual Productions.
That is fitting.
I thought that was a little interesting. I had to make a note of that. So, okay, the first scene, yes.
First scene. So the first time I watched it, I had the same thought you did, which is, this is weird. Batman's just casually hanging out with a criminal, making some jokes, having some good times.
So the guy's stealing something, and Batman shows up, right? He's just kind of chilling, staring at him like, hey, I see you, bro. What are you doing? But then even when the guy notices Batman, everything seems like it's... And that's kind of my... you correct me if I'm wrong here, but didn't all the action scenes kind of seem like they were in slow motion?
Batman does seem to move a little slow in that opening scene, and a lot of it does seem to be in slow motion. So the first reaction that the criminal has, he sees Batman. It was a cool shot. Batman across the street staring at him. And the criminal doesn't look scared. He looks annoyed. Like he rolls his eyes and turns around and shoots. And then Batman takes him out. But on my second watch through, I did get a different implication of the scene, which that it becomes more clear that Batman is not actually after that criminal. He's looking for a criminal that he can use as bait.
Okay, for the scout or whatever, but that's
yeah.
I don't understand because the scouts weren't stealing people in any other part of the movie, were they?
No, they weren't. They completely. It's like they added
it's
that from the Justice League War cartoon, where they're kidnapping people and converting them into more creatures, but then they didn't use it the rest of the film, so it didn't make sense because there was no context.
Okay, there you go. See, they never explained it. So, yeah, I'll agree with you that it did look like he was using them as bait, but they never explained that. That's why it didn't make any sense.
The real problem is that he seems to be using him as bait, but the criminal doesn't actually seem scared. Like, he seems annoyed when he first sees Batman, and then Batman comes and does an awkward, like, lands on his head and flips him over, and then the criminal is just like, come on, man, what are you doing?
Well, afterwards,
and that is the extent of his great fear, which supposedly lures the monster. That man was so scared that he was like, "Come on, man, what are you doing?"
but the whole thing afterwards, though, they're talking like they're buddies.
Yeah,
like they almost just kind of like, oh yeah,
implying that man really wasn't that scared. So how did he draw the bug?
That thing was weird. Where did that come from? Hey, I don't know. All right, man. See you later. Thanks for helping. Like what? It just it just didn't make a lot of sense to me whatsoever.
Yep. Then it transitions from that scene into the opening credits, where the sad music starts playing.
Yep.
And we get the slow motion montage of how horrible the city is. How random people go into shops and throw the merchandise onto the street and swing doors open angrily, and homeless people put ironic or I don't know, artistic signs. Like, I'm guessing that old guy was actually not homeless, but probably just a hipster, and it was like some modern art installation with his "I Tried" poster. But apparently, without Superman, petty crime is just out of control.
Yeah,
people are just. It's just the world is a nightmare without Superman.
I'm pretty sure Superman never bothered with petty criminals anyway. I mean, the occasional, hey, I'm flying by and I see you mugging some lady, so I want to stop you. But, like,
Well, yeah, I mean, the message of the last two films was that he doesn't owe it to anyone to help them or save them, and is more sad when bad things happen than he is trying to fix it.
So it's a horrible city now because it wasn't before.
Yeah.
Even though he in this universe he's only been around for what, a year?
I don't know how long it's been.
Like, it didn't really seem like it was that long, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm not clear on the timeline.
It is unclear because this movie seems to be rewriting the last movie, so I don't know how long is supposed to have passed. Because the last movie was all about the dragging Superman in front of the courts, and people are protesting him, and they don't want superheroes, and that was the message of the last movie, that Superman is a divisive figure. But in this one, apparently everybody loved him, and the world mourns.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that didn't ever change, did it?
No, in Batman v Superman, it never changed.
That ended when he was dead.
Yes, this movie is rewriting history.
Yep, got it.
So it's unclear how much time is supposed to have passed.
Good job so far there, Justice League. All right, great.
Yep. Okay, so next is the bank heist bombing robbery. So I actually have a nitpick right at the very beginning of this scene. The van pulls up and parks, and the guy gets out of the front of the van, and then immediately bangs on the side. Because apparently the van stopping and him getting out wasn't enough to tell the guys to get out. He had to then, real cool, bang on the side like it's a secret signal. Knock, knock, knock. Secret signal, get out of the van.
The criminals aren't going to come out until, they get the signal, man. Come on.
That's
to establish that he's the leader and he's in charge.
Yes, and then they get out and shoot the guard right in public.
Yep. And just let everyone know that they're there, because that's how bank robberies work.
Yep. I did appreciate that the Wonder Woman theme is a lot less obnoxious when it's not electric guitar. It was a little more subtle. It was good.
I mean, the action scene's okay. I don't have a lot of complaints about the action scene in the movie, because that's pretty much how the action scenes were in Wonder Woman. Did you ever watch it?
I saw clips of the action scenes, and I had the same problem, which is that I think if you sped up the slow motion bullet deflections to a normal pace, they basically didn't really shoot. Like, they're holding what looked like automatic weapons. And I think they fired 3 bullets, because each bullet has its own slow motion, super epic, she runs in front of it and deflects it. And like, there should be a whole spray of bullets because they're using automatic weapons.
So my gripe with that is, if she's fast enough to dodge in front of all the bullets, right, why doesn't she just jump right in front of him?
Right. Why does she have to keep going sideways? Just go straight towards him.
Right. And then you're good, and you can stop him, and then the off chance that you accidentally miss a bullet, nobody dies.
Yeah, it's the same nitpick I have from Wonder Woman, which is the scene in I think it's No Man's Land, where they keep talking about how they've been bunkered down for, I think it was days, because of the machine gun.
Weeks.
No one can get across it because of the machine gun, and then she jumps up there and gets it, and I think like 10 bullets get fired from it.
Well, you know what it was. It was nobody else had guitar riffs powering them.
That's true. That's true.
I'm not sure if you caught it. So right after that scene ends, right, she pulls out her what's her rope of truth or whatever called?
The lasso of truth.
Did you catch that when she lassos the dude and she's holding him and he's just kind of staring at her and they're kind of casually talking? Then she actually literally says, "Hey, this compels you to tell the truth," and then all of a sudden he clicks on and starts telling the truth.
He was telling the truth at that point, but it does throw in another problem, which is he says that 4 city blocks are going to be leveled in a few minutes, but I don't think she threw that briefcase 4 blocks into the air. It looked like she threw it about, 50 feet into the air. And I'm not an expert in city blocks, but I think they're longer than that. So, yeah, again, that doesn't, unless he just wasn't an explosives expert and didn't understand how big the bomb was.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of that scene, and a lot of the scenes that are coming up here real quick, is just to try to develop the Justice League characters, because they didn't really do any kind of setup for the characters. I mean, sure, Wonder Woman had her own movie, but if you didn't see that movie, you wouldn't have any idea what she does. And
Yeah.
so I feel like the entire purpose of the scene is like, oh, hey, look, she's kind of like Superman. So there's that. Cool.
But they don't really showcase her powers. Like, from watching that, all you would know her powers is that she can move in slow motion and deflect individual bullets. All right, let's get off that scene into the next introduction scene. We get Bruce Wayne in Iceland
and Man de Agua.
And this scene, this was so bad. So first, Bruce apparently doesn't know which of these people is Aquaman
for some reason,
and I think they meant for him to. I think he didn't actually know who he was because he goes through the process of offering to pay to find out who he is, and looking confused when they're laughing at him. But then, as soon as Aquaman grabs him, he says, "Arthur Curry, I hear you can talk to fish." So clearly he does know who he is.
He did know who he was
so
the whole time.
Why was he saying, "I'll pay you $25,000 if you'll tell me who he is"?
Well, and I think that's kind of the flaw of the movie right there, is that the movie was trying to establish that, hey, Bruce Wayne's trying to keep his cover here. But in the very next scene, you could tell he just spilled all the beans to Aquaman, because Aquaman's like, so you're the Bat?
Right. And we know that those people speak English because they laughed at the joke that Aquaman tells, but you wouldn't get the joke unless you understood what Bruce Wayne was saying in English.
Yes.
Because Bruce Wayne says, "I'll pay you $25,000, and Aquaman says, "I think he'll pay me anyway." And they all say, "Ha ha ha ha," which means they had to have understood both lines, or they're just terrified of him and they're laughing.
Oh, and why did he take off all his clothes before he jumped in the water?
Because he's awesome.
I mean, why even have the clothes on in the first place?
So he could have that sweet scene where he took off all his clothes before he jumped in the water.
Right. So you can't have both, right? That's my point there. It's like, hey, if he's Aquaman, then okay, he probably doesn't get cold by water. I mean, obviously he doesn't. They're in the Arctic, right? So why even bother putting the clothes on? Everyone there knows who he is, besides Bruce Wayne. So
he's undercover, man. He doesn't know this guy doesn't know who he is.
But so
except he does know who he is.
You're gonna go undercover on the off chance that some random billionaire from Metropolis is gonna show up, because again, he was dressed up in those clothes before Bruce Wayne walks in that room, and Bruce Wayne kind of interrupted like the whole gathering. It looked like Aquaman's there, kind of like if you're a celebrity at like a bar or something like that. He's kind of like, "Oh, I'm awesome. Here's your fish," and Bruce Wayne kind of walks into this whole thing where he's, okay, I need Aquaman's help now, so everyone listen to me because I'm rich, haha.
Well, in the later scene, he's wearing a tank top, so he changes clothes periodically. Apparently, I don't know where he kept the tank top for the later scene, but yeah, that scene didn't make sense to me, and it begins the pattern that I think I recognized, which is that there were two Aquaman in the film. One was probably the Zack Snyder Aquaman, and one was the Joss Whedon Aquaman.
Oh, good point. I had not thought about that.
One is the grouchy, serious Aquaman who throws Bruce Wayne into the wall and doesn't want to be helpful, and the other one is the radical, hilarious Aquaman, who I'm sure is your favorite character in the film, as was mine. This would be the one that says, "Dressed like a bat, you crazy man." Whoa. Which doesn't fit at all with 10 seconds earlier where he's throwing him into a wall and threatening to kill him.
He's super
angry. And then 2 seconds
him.
later, "Dressed like a bat, you crazy, Bruce Wayne."
Yeah, and then he's completely okay with that. So,
yeah. All right, next scene I actually have down is a very good scene. That's between Bruce and Alfred in the bat plane as they're leaving. I thought that where they're discussing what they need to do to save the world, and Alfred has a line like, "It doesn't sound like you're being a part of the world," and Bruce says, "You don't need to be a part of the world to save it." And I thought that was actually a really good scene. The interplay between the two of those characters is really well done. Part of that might be just because Alfred is excellent in this film.
Yeah, I didn't even write down anything for that scene, to be honest. So I would agree with you on that, because nothing really stuck out to me as like, hey, this is a bad scene. So,
it more stuck out to me just because both times I watched it, as the scene was ending, I wanted to watch the rest of that movie. So I think I would actually appreciate a Batman film with the two of them still in their roles.
I think we would have liked a Batfleck movie with him, is because that Alfred is the one from like comic books that's always helping out Batman, and is in and out of his Batcave and talking to him on the radio and that sort of thing. Yes. That's cool to see that.
The scene right after this is actually another good scene. There are actually 3 great scenes in a row. So the Bruce and Alfred is good. Next is Barry and his dad in prison. I really liked that scene, and I think this was another case of there are 2 Barrys. There's the serious, sad one who's just trying to help his dad, and then there's the silly one.
Yeah, but before we get to the actual scene between him and his dad, though, can you tell me why the guy behind him got mad when he was waiting to sign into the jail?
I'm guessing because Joss Whedon wanted a funny scene and probably inserted that moment.
Okay, because there was literally no reason for that guy to get confrontational. Like so the Flash, there was somebody in front of him. It's his turn to go up. He grabs the pen. And like right as he's about to write his name on the paper, so literally like less than 5 seconds, the guy's like, "Hey, hurry up, buddy! What are you doing?" And he writes on his face. Okay, cool.
I think that was inserted to be funny, but it wasn't done well and didn't make any sense. Well, the whole scene was awkward and poorly timed. Like how after the Flash leaves, then the guard like really slowly and obviously presses his super secret AT&T surveillance button. Brought to you by AT&T.
Oh, there's a lot of ad placement in this movie. And again, yeah, you agree with me that the scene is silly, but so the Flash wrote all over that guy's face, right? He wouldn't feel that? Like, I'm pretty sure if someone wrote on my face super fast, that would be even more uncomfortable.
You'd probably have friction
something,
burns.
like he'd be screaming. But anyway,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But
don't think about it too much. The scene was clearly inserted because they thought this movie needed more jokes. And actually, I hate to say it, even though I hate how dark the last 2 films were, I really think this movie needed less jokes. This movie needed to be serious, because the serious parts were better.
They were trying the Marvel format, and it just doesn't work for them. They need to come into their own. But no, I'd agree with you. That scene established that the Flash has a motive for doing what he's doing.
He was serious. He had a good character. His dad is great. I love that actor, Billy Kudrow. So that scene was good, and then the next scene is Cyborg and his dad, and I thought that was also a very good scene.
Yeah, I just wish they would have done more setup with that. They do it a little bit later on, but not in this scene right here. I'm not really sure why they chose to do the ordering of it like that.
Well, so apparently that was one of the biggest things that got cut out when Joss Whedon took over. There was a lot more story for Cyborg. Okay.
Because to be 100% honest, the only thing I know about Cyborg is from Teen Titans. And I doubt that's very accurate because it's a very kid cartoon. I don't know. I had some gripes with Cyborg that we'll get to in a little bit here. Beyond that, I do very much like the actor that plays his dad. He's the scientist in Terminator 2.
He also has played multiple side characters in superhero TV shows and movies. But yes, I do. He is most recognizable from T2. And I just thought that scene was excellent. I thought they both performed well. The characters were believable.
No, it starts to establish that Cyborg is losing his grip on being a person, which is interesting.
It tries to establish that. I don't think it works, and we will talk about that later. But
there's so many bad things about Cyborg. He could have been such a cool character, I think, but I didn't really care for it.
All right, so next up is the mother box. My first note from this scene is Steppenwolf looks dumb. Sounds dumb.
Yes, I actually called him CGI Wolf because
he looks so dumb.
I just don't know how did they model that character? Like, is it off of a PlayStation 2 video game?
Well, so apparently the early mock-ups of that character looked completely different. He was like insectoid. He didn't look like a humanoid. He looked much more alien. And then, so the theory that I've heard is just that last minute they probably realized, well, if he's supposed to be related to Darkseid, he better look more like Darkseid's going to look, so let's make him gray.
That's
and
so weak, though.
But it just looks so bad.
Do you know the lore behind him? Because I honestly don't.
All I know is that he sounded stupid. He looked stupid. His voice was so. It wasn't like with a character like Bane or Kylo Ren, where they've got a deep voice, but it's they use sound editing to make it stand out in the sound mix, and it's imposing and threatening. But his voice was just deep, like He sounded like a
you know
joke
who?
character. Like he just sounded like an old man. Like, I'm Steppenwolf, but I'm scary.
So I legit thought this, and I looked it up. It isn't true, but it sounded like the director said, like, "Hey, we want you to sound like Liam Neeson."
I can get that,
Like it wasn't Liam Neeson voicing him. I honestly thought it was for a second. So okay, so the scene when it starts. So the Amazons, they know what this cube is, right? We established that based on the story that they tell. So
Yes.
why are they staring at it like they don't know what's happening?
Where are they going to shoot an arrow
Right.
at it?
Like, you guys know what this is from. It came from Steppenwolf.
Why don't they have it inside many other metal boxes and stone caverns and prisons and covered in lava?
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense at all. They know what it is. They know what it's going to do, why Steppenwolf wants it, but yet they just leave it out in the open. Granted, they have it inside of a big, giant mountain that collapses upon itself.
And to be fair, it is only the second worst protected of the three mother boxes, but we'll get to that later.
Horrible.
Okay, my next note is I do think the chase was pretty good.
See, I didn't like it.
Like, that was pretty good action once they got outside and they were running on the horses. I thought the shooting the arrow with the
I would agree that it's decent action. However, I disagree that. Well, I guess it's not really disagreeing with you. I'm just going to say that Steppenwolf clearly demonstrates that he can get the cube himself, because he literally jumps like 1,000 feet in the air and launches himself at these Amazons, where he could just keep doing that. And all the attacks against him, if they hit him, they just kind of bounce off. But for the most part, he's just casually deflecting them, dodging their attacks and that sort of thing. So why even bother fighting the Amazons if his goal is to get the cube?
Yeah.
Just take it.
Yep. Yeah, the film never establishes what can actually hurt Steppenwolf. It's just basically nothing hurts him until the script says something does hurt him. So he's invulnerable and there's no impact to anything until they need something to impact him. But we will get to more on that later. I have further notes on that coming up.
Yeah, so then that scene comes to a close with they're lighting the fire to let people know, because all the Amazons are like, oh, this is useless. That's fantastic. They're going to let Wonder Woman know that Steppenwolf is loose, and she's going to come do something about it. But that just brings the question is, what is Wonder Woman doing up until that point? Stopping bank robberies?
Stopping bank robberies. So the next scene, after Wonder Woman finds out what's going on, best line in the movie. Banks, they jump like a cougar if you miss by a dime.
Okay.
I actually got into a rant about this. I'm like, that's not how banks operate. And the banks don't want to foreclose on you. It costs more money to try to resell your property. We want you to keep paying money every month.
That takes you to the very end of the movie, too.
My. We're happy to charge you a $35 late fee if you miss by a dime. We don't want to take your house from you.
Nobody wants your stupid house. And that takes you just to the very end of the movie, when
I bought the
Superman's
bank.
like, how'd you get it from the bank? Oh, I bought the bank. Yeah,
buy the house.
Just what's the money, Bruce? We get it. You're rich, but that's just poor use of your money. He spent so much money in this movie on just things that he didn't need to. Like, Bruce Wayne would be out of money if he spent money like he did in this movie. He wouldn't have any money to spend. So anyway,
I guess maybe I don't understand. I've never had my girlfriend die, but I'm confused about how Lois Lane is coping. So she's so sad that she can't be an investigative journalist. But instead, she writes fluff stories about kitten grooming. If you were sad and depressed, wouldn't it be easier to write about things like crime? Maybe I don't understand, but I don't know. How do you write happy kitten stories? But you're too sad to be a journalist. I
think it's supposed to establish that she can't write serious pieces anymore, and that she's broken down. And this wonderful journalist, this
Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Lois Lane, can't write a story except about kittens.
So now she needs to,
because her boyfriend died.
So I think that's what it was trying to establish with that. But
yeah, I think that was what it was saying too. But I think it's a contradiction.
Yeah.
I think it would have made more sense if she wasn't working at all, if she was just sitting at home and that didn't take place at the
Right.
Daily
She's
Bugle
just
or Daily Planet. If it was just at home,
well.
but to say I can't write things because I am too sad, but I can write these stories, these silly happy stories. All right, we're let's see. Oh, we're not even halfway through my notes yet. This is great. All right.
So why does Cyborg have access to Batman's Batcave security cameras? Why are they labeled Batcave? And why is Batman conveniently located in front of all his cameras, wearing his bat suit without his mask, so that Cyborg can identify him as Bruce Wayne?
Because it's super secured bat.
Right?
So why wouldn't he take his mask off?
Literally, Cyborg just gets random access because presumably, hey, let's this alien technology is absorbing data and signals, and it's it's downloading everything into his brain. But it just happens to randomly stop on the quote-unquote...
Well, no, he's reading everything. I think that's more believable than Wonder Woman walking through Batman's security.
It just made me stop and shake my head, because Batman would label his security system Batcave.
That's true.
Just in case somebody hacked into it. This is the Batcave, and this is look at me.
FYI.
Look at me candidly posing with my mask off in front of the camera.
Profile picture.
That's exactly what it was. It looked like a profile picture. It was realistically that picture was probably taken on set as like somebody saying, "Oh, here's Ben Affleck on set of Justice League," and they threw it in there as a security camera image. That's what it looked like.
What they should have done was had Cyborg do a three-dimensional analysis of his chin to identify who he was. It's the same.
Oh my god, it's the Batman.
Anything else before we get to the Wonder Woman exposition?
Steppenwolf's background. They go through all that. It was
so that scene was so.
It just wasn't interesting.
It didn't even have a start. She walks in. He makes a quip about how he spent millions of dollars on his security, and she says, I saw. And then it just like starts. Like he gets down and he's like, he's like, I think we're being invaded. She says, yeah, we are. And then it immediately cuts to the background. There isn't even he doesn't say, tell me about Steppenwolf and where did he come from?
No, the audience
it just starts. There's just this awkward, like they spliced it in. And I actually think that the scene was supposed to be later, because later on at the grave scene, when the Flash and Cyborg are talking, Cyborg says everything that Wonder Woman told us, or everything Diana told us about Steppenwolf, which to me says that exposition scene was supposed to be later in the film with her telling the whole team about it.
Yeah, I didn't catch that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Felt really awkward. So my second note about this scene, it's the same plot as Man of Steel.
Yep.
Aliens land and terraform the planet into their homeworld.
Yep.
Which to me doesn't explain why it's really a problem. Like, humans can deal, like, yeah, terraforming would be bad, but it's shown that it doesn't, like, you could still breathe in it, in the terraformed land. What they should have done is emphasized more the fact that they're transforming people into the parademons.
Right, because that's why they want to stop them, is because everyone's going to be turned into these demons and be part of the alien army or whatever.
Right, but other than, like, I think a glimpse of that happening in that flashback scene, they don't mention it again, and you don't see it happen.
Yeah, it happened like twice, and then I think they also just use it to tie in some other Justice League people, like the Green Lantern. So there's going to be a Green Lantern. Cool. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not.
No, it won't be as good as the cartoon Justice League.
The awesome Ryan Reynolds film.
Don't even get me started on that.
We'll do it. We'll do another recording about that one.
I'm not watching that movie. It's not happening.
My next note about the flashback was, this seems like they wanted to do Lord of the Rings, because the first, I don't know, you've watched Lord of the Rings films, right? So the first one starts with Galadriel narrating the history of their original fight against Sauron, who was going to take over the world, cover it in darkness. And so a last alliance of men and elves joined together to fight him on the and it is literally the same thing. And so the whole time I'm thinking about, this is literally, they just wanted to make Lord of the Rings. So how smart are the parademons?
They don't seem very smart. They seem kind of like,
they can be lured by fear.
They kind of seem like rage zombies.
And then when there's a weird, like, annoying alarm goes off, then they go crazy and they chase it. And yet, in that flashback scene, they are apparently intelligent enough to decide when they need to retreat, even when Steppenwolf doesn't want to. And they're pushing him back into the spaceship and taking off without his permission. So I'm really confused about how smart they're supposed to be.
Well, it doesn't make any sense, because presumably they're running away because they're scared, right? They know they're defeated. But if they were doing that, wouldn't they just all be attacking themselves?
Also, it's another moment of nothing hurts Steppenwolf until something needs to.
Yes, very much so.
Everything bounces off of him, except finally that axe apparently did some damage and made all of the bugs pick him up and take him back to the ship.
You're trying to give up and run away.
Yeah. So that leads to the worst protected box of the three. When men buried it 3 feet underground and then left it.
Find that forever.
That's because men found it later. Men found it during World War II.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So yeah, that was bad. At least the Atlantean one was deep underwater.
We buried it all.
Okay,
let's did have some cool stuff. So, I think that's the next scene, right? The Atlantean one.
No, that's not.
I just simply said that Steppenwolf can breathe underwater? ? Why?
Because he's super awesome. Maybe he's from another dimension. He's breathing air from another dimension.
Yeah, we'll go with that. And before that scene, they flash back to Cyborg again. Or maybe this was just my brain, but
so I think we skipped a scene, and that's where Bruce recruits Flash.
Yeah, but I didn't really have many issues with that scene, other than I'm not really a big fan of how they do the Flash. Super speed.
I have issues with that scene. So, first of all, Bruce says he doesn't know what his ability is.
Oh, yeah, he chucks the batarang at his face.
But he chucks a sharp batarang
that's kind of the same issue I have in the Marvel Universe. In Civil War, when Captain America's fighting Spider-Man, he doesn't really know anything about him, but he drops a airplane terminal on his... Wow, Captain America, you just murdered a team...
He basically attempted to murder
so
a
teenager. Cool. The same concept, right? Yeah, that's a good point. He doesn't know what his superpower is. He just, on the off chance... Well, no, didn't he think he was a teleporter?
Yeah, I think so. But still, to not be sure, to test it out with a
batarang to the face.
Yeah.
Take this.
My second question is, where did the Flash get the suit made from the material that they use in the space shuttle?
Yeah, it's fine.
When he's poor and doesn't have a job because his dad's yelling at him for not having a job.
I just think that was a poor choice of material.
What should have happened was the Flash had nothing and kept tearing up and burning up all his clothing, and then Bruce Wayne makes him a suit with all his money.
Rich.
That would have made much more sense. Like, where did the Flash get the money for all that computer equipment?
He stole it.
Yep. Hated that. Also, Ben Affleck is doing a weird voice in that scene. Like, he doesn't sound like he does in the rest of the film. He sounds like he's trying to sound like Batman.
He's
like, I'm putting together a team.
He forgot his voice changer.
Superpowered individuals. I want you to join me. He sounds so.
He forgot his voice changer, man. Give him a break.
Also, I think he stopped working out before this movie. Because he looks pretty pudgy.
It's Ben Affleck. He can do what he wants. So with Cyborg, when he's wearing his hoodie, right? Like it's supposed to be a loose-fitting hoodie, right? How bright does an LED light have to be to shine through a hoodie? Because
it's not an LED light. It's an alien.
Whatever, that's fine. But when he doesn't have the hoodie on, that light is not anywhere near as bright.
That's true.
It's super annoying to me. Anyway, okay. So the underwater scene with Steppenwolf, that it is what it is. I thought that there was some pretty cool action in there, like with the one at Atlantean, the woman, she's like able to control the water, make it disappear, and how he just kind of hits the floor.
Yes. How she creates the air. That was cool. I actually didn't get what happened the first time I saw that, and then when I figured it out, I was like, "That's
pretty creative." Awesome. Hey, cool. There's this underwater group of people, and they can control water. Sweet. Let's make it
using physics to make an interesting fight. That's
besides Steppenwolf just totally being more powerful than all of them as well in their preferred fighting area is it is.
Yeah. Can he fly? Can he swim? Because I don't think I saw him always kicking off of something.
Yeah, he does what Mimosa does. He just goes and it
doesn't make any sense.
He just rock.
Because elsewhere he jumps and he has to pull himself up with his axe
rocket propels through water. Don't worry about it.
It doesn't make sense. I do have a note that Aquaman is a much better character when he's angry Aquaman. So
which is also motivated Aquaman.
Right, when he saves the fisherman and throws him on the table and grabs the bottle of booze and says it's on him, and that was a good. I mean, it wasn't like brilliant filmmaking, but it was good. It was a good character. It was interesting. I wanted to see more about that Aquaman. I wanted to see more of the Aquaman that's doesn't like the Atlanteans and is mad at the
because that's
princess
his
or
whole
whatever,
that's his whole
whoever she
thing,
is.
isn't it? That's Aquaman's backstory, but they didn't really do any of that in this movie.
Wonder Woman, I don't remember where this happened, but at some point Wonder Woman comments that she lost someone that she loved, and that she basically she hasn't been doing anything for a while, but now she's back helping people.
Wasn't that?
I guess I know that comes up later when Batman's talking to her, but I guess I'm just wondering, does that fit with Wonder Woman's character?
I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure that was made up for the movie.
I mean, that essentially means that she lost. I mean, we thought it was bad that Lois Lane loses her boyfriend and stops writing good journalism, but Wonder Woman loses her boyfriend and stops being a hero for 60 years.
Yes, because nobody took him from her. I would think that'd be motivation for a character to be more heroic. Because, hey, he did this very heroic act and saved all of us.
Steve Trevor chooses to crash a plane to save people from the deadly weapons on board. Wonder Woman goes into a depression for 60, 70, 80 years.
Right.
Steve Rogers crashes a plane to save people from all the deadly weapons on board. And Peggy Carter becomes a super spy, superhero, secret agent, and founds S.H.I.E.L.D. It doesn't make sense because they're trying to do that with Wonder Woman, and then they have her be this wallflower who's just depressed because she lost her boyfriend.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it doesn't fit with the character they were
creating.
But
she still randomly goes and stops bank robberies.
Well, I think they're saying that's what she's finally decided to come out of her shell and stop some bank robberies.
Okay. For all intents and purposes, a regular bank robbery is what draws out Wonder Woman. Got it.
All right, so next scene I have notes on is Steppenwolf is talking to the two boxes, and he comments on how clever Mother is for calling him, and he knows why Mother waited till now to call him, because finally the Kryptonian is dead, so now the world is ripe for the picking, which doesn't make any sense, because it's been 5,000 years since he came last time, and the Kryptonian's only been around for the last 30 years.
That. It wasn't, I don't even think it was that long.
So I feel like he could have been called like 50 years ago. How about back when we didn't have guns? Just come then.
It doesn't really seem like anything is relevant to his power level, because, again, it's convenient that he's just more powerful than anything.
I mean, we know that prior to World War I, the Amazons were already isolated on their island. And we know that Atlantis had already sunk. So that's the dumbest line, I think, in the whole film. That he came now because the Kryptonian died. It's like, wait. But there were like 4,500 years of time that you could have come that would have been way better than now. So I think that the mother boxes are dumb.
Agreed.
I was also confused about geography.
How so?
So Gotham is neighbors with Metropolis. I don't like that, but they established that in the last movie. That's fine. But Star Labs, that's in Star City, I think, and that's on the West Coast, I believe. But in this movie, everybody's from the same city, which is Star City and/or Gotham and/or Metropolis. I'm willing to say, okay, maybe this was just a team from Star Labs. They were working on the spaceship, the crashed Kryptonian spaceship. That's fine, okay. But that crashed in Metropolis. But the kidnappings are being investigated by Gordon, who's from the Gotham Police Department.
Which wouldn't have any jurisdiction because he's just a regular...
Which wouldn't be investigating kidnappings in Metropolis.
It's just a regular police department.
Because they just wanted Gordon in the film. Doesn't make any sense.
Good point, sir. I got caught that. You're like, okay, just making sure I'm not crazy.
I have another note here that says Steppenwolf looks terrible.
Yes, he does.
I think I already commented on that, but he's just terrible. Just looks so
was on his mind. Why does Wonder Woman always wait to use her shield? Not her shield, her wrist guards.
Her bracers.
Yeah. Because it seems to me like she should just keep doing that.
Well, what's really interesting is that why, when she does that, how did she get the cheat code to turn friendly fire off? Because she does that and it only ever knocks back the guy she wants to, even though it's a spherical attack. It's an area of effect attack, and yet it only hits the guy in front of her.
Because justice, that's why.
Justice, yes. All right, so the scene is they're in the sewers looking for Steppenwolf, fighting Steppenwolf. That's where I have my note that Steppenwolf looks terrible. My next note is Batman hardly does anything.
He doesn't do anything in this whole movie almost.
He doesn't. He just stands
Besides
around getting beat
beats
up,
and then makes Wonder Woman feel bad when she sees his bruises.
Well, and then he grapples the one guy that was going to go up behind Wonder Woman and probably do nothing to her because she's invulnerable.
Oh,
and actually has ability.
But also, again, he shoots guns. Again, he likes to use guns all the time. Anytime possible.
But it's. I don't think it's his gun. It's one of the Parademon's guns.
It doesn't matter. He just tries to grab a gun at all opportunity. Batman never uses.
Well, they're not humans.
Batman never uses guns, though.
But yes, basically all Batman can do is either drive a robot ship, spider thing, which is actually being piloted by Alfred. So Batman literally does nothing. He just sits in the passenger seat of a giant robot while Alfred drives it around and kills a bunch of parademons.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
And I know it was Alfred driving it because later when Cyborg jumps into it, he says, "I'll take it from here, Alfred." So Batman does nothing. He just sits there and screams, "Alfred, come help me."
Alfred's on the big guns.
Okay, so they shoot a missile at Steppenwolf. Did you have something else before we get to the end of the scene?
No, so you're getting there, and I'll ask my question in a moment here.
So first of all, Batman knew they were under Gotham Harbor, and they shoot a missile. So that was smart. But my real question is, why does Flash say, "What are we under?" Nothing happened that would make you say that unless you had read the script and knew that the water was going to come rushing in. He didn't hit the ceiling. He hit the wall.
Steppenwolf also makes a comment.
So you would say, "What are we next to?" Not
Why
what are we
does
under?
Steppenwolf make the comment something about he grabs the missile and shakes it and he says something about them being inferior or something like that.
Primitive.
What are you talking about? You used to fight people with catapults and spears. Okay.
Well, actually, he was defeated by being hit in the shoulder with an axe.
Fine. A presumably really advanced missile is primitive. That's cool.
Okay.
So, end of the scene, water's rushing in. Aquaman shows up. Hey, cool. I don't really know why he's struggling with currents because he seems to be able to just control them at will. But this current in particular, since there's his friends behind it.
So that's the trident that he's using, and I think that's what the Queen was using to create the big air pocket. So I think he's using the same power.
He's just not good at it yet? Okay.
He's just not good at it yet. He was basically just creating a big air pocket to keep the water back.
We'll let that slide then, I guess.
I thought that was okay.
He just seemed to struggle with it way too much. All I'm saying is if I spent my whole life swimming around in an ocean, playing with fish and summoning waves and saving sailors and this and that.
Well, they never do specify what his ability is. They don't specify that he's actually controlling the water himself. And he does say later that he doesn't talk to fish, so I don't really know what he does other than swim real fast and be strong. And say cool things, which is actually my next comment. So he goes up onto the dock and meets them, and his first line when he gets out is, "Dressed like a bat.
I can dig it.
I can dig it."
So before that...
Aquaman is not cool.
So before that, why does Batman have a giant crawler robot? What is the practical use for that?
To go down into the sewers to fight Steppenwolf.
That's
Batman has a contingency plan for every possible outcome.
So Steppenwolf, the dude you never heard of before, you have a contingency plan for it. Got it. Just wanted to establish that. And
no, hang on. Can the crawler be used as an offensive weapon to kill people?
Probably.
Then Batman probably bought three
there you go. Yeah.
Because this Batman likes murdering people.
So
yes.
Then the other part of that scene that really annoyed me. So when they're all clinging to the side of it, hanging on because that's what's saving them from all the water gushing in, right? Wonder Woman is super strong, yes, and she has her hand on the side of the spider crawly thing. Cool.
Yep.
Why does she stab her sword through the side of it? You're just ruining my machine now. This is what's saving us. What do you already had a grip on it on the handle.
Yeah, and Flash has shown that he can run up walls. So why is he panicking?
Because he was already injured at this point, right?
Was he? Okay.
But
fair enough.
All it takes is a very minor injury to the Flash. He basically got scratched on his leg, and he's worthless now. Like,
yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's pretty much worthless no matter what.
100%. Especially
the way they showed his speed. If he was not worthless, the whole movie could have been resolved by him because he's moving fast enough that he could have just fixed everything. Because Steppenwolf was never shown to have speed, so Flash could have just run up and taken him out without doing anything. Just flick him out of the scene.
It's frustrating because that little bit of leg injury completely crippled him. Like Batman had to carry him around, so he's just like.
He could have limped out of there.
He's a liability at this point. From based on the way his powers work, at least how the movie portrays it working, he kind of activates his speed and just is kind of free to kind of do what he wants. It's kind of like bullet time.
He enters the Speed Force and he can move. He doesn't have to run. It's not based on his leg. It's not his quads.
He could limp through there still theoretically. Okay.
Yep.
Just trying to establish some sort of understanding of his power, and yeah, it's stupid. But then on top of that, they get back to the Batcave, right?
Hold on, let's go. Let's before we skip ahead. So Aquaman says, "Dressed like a bat, I can dig it," and Batman says, and this is I think the best example of this is not Batman. This is some weird other character. His response is, "So, what made you change your mind?" That is not how Batman talks. Batman would never start a sentence with, so, He's Batman. Just say, what made you change your mind?
That's a very good point. In a very serious tone, too.
Yeah, Batman should be the adult on the team. What made you change your mind? Not, so, what made you change your mind?
Because that doesn't make for a funny scene, Joe.
Thanks, everyone. That's it for this week. We'll be finishing up our discussion of Justice League in the next episode.